Here's the tool changer showing the tools going around all those long boring bars that I'm going to demonstrate in this video. In the CAM software, this is the simulation, and here's the drill. This is an Allied combination insert and spade drill that they make. So I'm going to drill the hole with that. I'm going to rough bore with this bar, a CNMG 432 with a Sandvik silent bar on a Capto extension. Rough down the first part of the hole, and then drill further down, and then rough a little bit more with the same bar, and then come back with this bar, which is offset so that I can get out to the OD. It's a CNMG head as well, 432 insert, and rough out to that point, and then we're going to rough the little bit of the angle that's left with this offset bar, which has a CC MP insert on it, and get out to the outside, and then we're going to rough the counter bore in the back of the bore with this 1-inch carbide end mill. All of these are in special holders that I'm going to show later in the video, a little bit of the machining of them. So that one has coolant that comes through to blow on the tool because it's way back in the bore, and that is a way to get coolant on the tool. Then we're going to rough out the remaining little end of the bore with this bar because I can't get down below center on the Integrex very far, and I have to have these 3 bars to rough the bore out. So that just roughs a little bit left to there. Here's the finishing bar. This is also a Sandvik silent bar with a VBMT 332 insert, which I'm using to finish the bore up to the start of the angle. This is a silent bar as well. These Sandvik silent bars really work good. So that's going to bore up to the end of that, and then the same bar that we roughed, we're going to finish those angles. Here's a grooving tool, which is a top-notch insert, 1/8 inch wide. I can't remember the brand. I think it's a Tool Flow insert. So that's going to rough the thread relief, rough and finish the thread relief. And then this is the finishing bar for the back counter bore, which is a 3/4 inch carbide bar with a CCMT insert, 332, I believe. It finishes that back bore. We come in with a grooving tool in the special holder that I made with a Capto extension, 16th inch wide groove back in the bore there. And that tool does that. And then we thread. This is a buttress thread for the, I don't know, the customer specified a buttress. It's a standard buttress thread, a 4.5 inch diameter 6-pitch thread. Doing it with this tool and this insert. I think these are special inserts for this thread. And then here's the finished thread and the bore, and the back counter bore way back in the bottom of it. So those are the tools. Here's making one of the boring bars, the one that just has the head mounted on the tip of the extension. Just drilling the end holes for the, I think it's a 4.5 millimeter thread, and the angled coolant holes. Drilling them in, and then we come back with a gun drill and drill all the way down the length of the these are our Capto blank holders. They're machinable blank holders. They have the Capto shank on the one end, and you can machine the other end. These are pretty handy for making custom tools like this. So this is just drilling these angled coolant holes that come out either side of the Sandvik boring head cartridge. Here's drilling a start hole for the gun drill, and then they come in and drill all the way down the length of the holder. I think this was a 218 thousandths diameter gun drill. I had to set it up here and touch it off. And then we drill all the way through the part just to get our coolant passage up the middle of the holder. Because all these tools are using through-tool coolant on this bore, so we can get the coolant back on the cutting tool. I think this is a little end mill. I was milling the counter bore in the end of it so that fits on this Sandvik head. It has a little kind of a hollow tube pin on it. Touching out the thread mill to make the serrations for the head. I think it was a 1.25 millimeter of serrations on here, if I remember right. So the head indexes properly, and then you bolt it down with cap screws on there. And the coolant, actually that middle thing blocks the coolant off, and the coolant comes through those angled holes on this particular type of a boring head. You can see them right there on the right hand side, the coolant passage. This is making the larger, the Capto number 8 holders, which hold the end mill, the 1-inch carbide end mill, and the 3/4 inch carbide boring bar, and also the grooving tool that cuts the groove way in the back of the bore. So these 3 holders had to be custom made for these tools. You can't, nobody makes this tool, so I had to make it. It's just turning the taper on the OD. Move the tailstock back. I'm going to drill a start hole for the gun drill. I think I drilled a 1/4 inch gun drill all the way through for the coolant passages on these particular holders. So that's drilling that through. And then let's see, oh, this is spotting for the coolant passages have to come around. On the one that holds the end mill, the coolant comes around and then comes out these angle holes. So the side holes are plugged with 832 socket set screws. Just tap the end of the holes. I don't know if I showed the tapping. I don't think I took all the video shots of this being done, so there's a few missing. This is touching out the gun drill to drill the angled coolant passages to intersect those side holes that I just drilled in the deal. And like I say, they're plugged off on the side holes on the end of the hole with those 832 set screws. So the coolant is directed down these holes that I'm drilling right now. You saw earlier in the video, I think I showed a little clip of the coolant, the way it comes out on the end mill when it's in there working. So we're just rough milling the bore with a circular. Well, here I was checking to make sure I was undersized to come back with the boring bar to bore it. So we mill down in there. I think it was 2 3/4 of an inch deep, these bores in these holders that I made. And there was a 1-inch diameter one and a 20 millimeter one for a Sandvik boring bar, and the grooving tool was a 1-inch diameter as well. This is boring the holes. And then checking it with the dial bore gauge until I got the tools to fit correctly the way I liked in there. That's the grooving tool before it was cut off short, and the 1-inch end mill. And to bore a few times to get the size out to the proper fit. And then a little flap wheel in there to deburr it a little bit. Another pass with the boring bar. I finally got the end mill to fit in there the way I liked. Then you have to come back after this and put the set screw holes in the sides. I did all 3 of them on the bores, and then I came back and then did the set screw holes separately. They weren't that critical, so it didn't matter if they were in perfect alignment or anything like that. So here's milling a kind of a spot face countersink area where the set screw goes, and then drilling a tap drill hole. And I think I came back and thread milled the 5/8 11 thread in these. So that's what that was doing there, milling the thread, and I'm checking it with the thread gauge here. So that's it. Here's the finished holders. You can see the counter bore that for the set screws there. The 3 coolant holes for the 1-inch end mill one. So there's the special holders and a couple of boring bars for the project.